this happens to be their job, but they have no right to have a voice in how the country is being run. And I haven't heard anybody on the Republican side condemn that sentiment either. But they should, because that's not the way America is supposed to work.
Donnie, we've talked about the great mystery of Donald Trump from the beginning of his presidency. A guy who is driven to be liked, a guy who I'm sure would like to be reelected, and yet he acts in a way that it ensures only that he boils down his support to 35-36%, while leaving educated people, suburbanites, people of color, women, all against him. I want to say this again, Donnie. Everybody's like, oh, no, there's no checks on Donald Trump, and he's going to be a dictator. No, we had a check. It was called an election. Republicans lost in a way that no other party lost. The biggest voting landslide against the Republican Party ever in 2018. We've got another election coming up, and this sort of garbage, just like Charlottesville, is what makes voters say, I will never forgive, I will never forget, and I will let nothing stand in my way on Election Day of voting this guy out of office. Donald Trump won in 2016 because the African-American vote was at a 20-year low. What Donald Trump did yesterday, and what he did with Charlottesville, will ensure that in 2020, the African-American vote will be at a 20, 30, 40-year high.
Joe, to that point, I have a message to those voters, but you know, you mentioned the word fascist in Nuremberg. I want to send our audience to two articles, one by Tom Snyder in the New York Times, June 14th, How Did the Nazis Gain Power in Germany, and one by Wade Bourne in the Washington Post, It's Not Wrong to Compare Trump's America to the Holocaust. I want people to go back and look at Nazi Germany in the early 30s, because the parallels are stunning. Stunning, and oh, it can't happen here, it can't happen here. It can happen here. And I want to challenge people I did this the other day. I want to challenge people of means. I'm not talking about people who need a job and believe Trump is going to get it for him. If you vote for Trump, you can no longer now say, well, he's good for the economy, you know, and he's good for Israel. By the way, he would throw Israel overboard in a second if it was better for him. Do not kid yourself. And you own it now. You know, if you're the person that votes for Donald Trump, you are no different than if you were watching on the subway 5 white nationalists berate an African-American woman saying, go back to where you came from, and then you hid and you put your head home. You can't hide behind the economy anymore. You own it. You don't get to do that anymore. And I think that's critical. You know, it's interesting. We keep talking about race. We keep always talking about minorities. It's on white people. It really, really is. You don't get to say, he's good for the economy, and they all say stuff like that. No, they don't. This is a man with Nazi tendencies. Well, I'm not going to use the word fascist anymore. And I don't have to go through the list. And if reporters asked him, Mr. President, do you think you should stay beyond 8 years? He'll give you his honest answers, because they show themselves. Mr. President, do you think your opponents, do you think people in the press should be put in jail? He'll answer it. Let's see who's there. And by the way, he went into this rant the week after he got his highest approving ratings ever, is 45%. It shows when he's feeling power what he's capable of. I believe he is capable of the worst, and it's time for people to choose sides. No more it's good for the economy.
Well, you know,
see Republicans
I
speaking
think
out publicly.
There certainly has always been a hesitation to draw parallels. I will say that, again, you always want to be careful, and people say, well, we should never draw parallels between the presidency or any political party and fascism. I must say, the chant the other night was the first of its kind that I can remember in my lifetime. If somebody that is critical of you or critical of me for suggesting that this sounded like a rally in Germany in the early 1930s where people were chanting, send them back, when they were actually citizens of Germany, and in this case, citizens of the United States of America. If there is a better analogy for those who want to be critical today, I would love to hear it, because I am, you know, I'm a very optimistic guy. Mika will tell you she finds it maddeningly It just tiresome how optimistic I am. But unlike a lot of those Republican members of Congress, I could dismiss Donald Trump, some of the stupid things he says, and I can say, well, you know what? The voters, they're going to have their say a year from now. But when thousands of Americans in the audience chant, "Send her back," to a member of Congress because of her color, because she's a Muslim, or just as frightening, Lindsey Graham says, oh, well, it's because she doesn't support Donald Trump. We are now talking about an ethnic cleansing politically, an ethnic cleansing politically of people who do not support our side.
Joe, good for you using those words, Joe. Good for you. It's brave to use those words, and I'm glad you did, because we need to start talking that way.
Nobody's being killed. Nobody's
Absolutely
being put
not.
on trains. But there is no doubt that the argument that is coming from Donald Trump, and again, more frighteningly, from the crowd chanting it, is this is a white nation. Who are these black women?
Yeah.
Who are these Muslims to tell us how to run our country? I'll tell you who they are. They're immigrants. Well, they're not even immigrants. One's an immigrant. And you know who else was an immigrant? Albert Einstein.
Right.
Came during the middle of
Naturalized
World War
citizen.
II. Helped us win World War II. How many immigrants do we have in Silicon Valley right now that have created this new world for us, that have given us a competitive advantage over the world in the age of technology? You know the answer to it. Almost every company, every major company, run by immigrants. And yet you have Donald Trump and the Republican Party and conservatives all saying that what Donald Trump said, send her back, was okay. It wasn't until the crowd started chanting, and it did sound, if not Nuremberg, again.
Well,
please help me out. Tell me what other countries do this. I promise you, whatever answer you give me today, it's not going to be good. This stuff doesn't happen in Canada, doesn't happen, in other democracies. It's only happening here right now, and we've got to call it what it is. It's frightening. It's undemocratic. It goes against all of our American traditions, and it must be called out. It must be stopped.
And Joe, one addition is, you say no one's being lined up, put on trains, but we do have people seeking asylum and migrants coming to America in desperate situations, being separated, having their babies taken away from them, or family members having babies taken away from them. We still don't know where some of the families are to reunite them. We have people in horrendous conditions. We have reports of sexual abuse and sexual assault in these detention facilities. We have people being put in cages and held there
And
in
by the
huge
way,
numbers.
and 3-year-old babies told they have to choose between their mother or their father.
I would just...
We actually have border agents also who set up this Facebook page mocking those that they are supposed to be protecting, making commemorative coins that mock the very people they're trying to help. And one final thing, Mika, I just have to say, and it's tiresome that I have to say this, I'm very conservative when it comes to immigration. I'm very conservative when it comes to illegal immigration. And yes, that's what I call it, illegal immigration, because if you come to America illegally, then you're an illegal immigrant. But it's tiresome that I have to say this.
Yeah.
When you come to America seeking asylum, that is a legal action. And that is an action that actually defines who we are as a nation, and has defined who we have been as a nation for over 200 years. The Statue of Liberty is more than a symbol. It is a promise to the world. And that's the promise that Donald Trump and this administration and this Republican Congress is breaking every day. We can be tough at the border. We can do everything we can do, like Barack Obama did, to make sure that illegal immigration drops to 50-year lows. And it did drop to 50-year lows under Barack Obama. And we can do that, and we can still welcome refugees to these shores. That's what America